Chapter 1 of The Forgery. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The Forgery by George Payne Rainsford James. Chapter 1. Introductory. One of the finest characters in the world was the old English merchant. We may and have improved upon many things, but not upon that. A different spirit reigns in commerce from that which ruled it long ago, and not a better one. We are more the shopkeeper, as a celebrated but not a great man called us, and less the merchant. As a people, our commerce is more extended, but the separate transactions are smaller, and minute dealings almost always produce paltry minds. Not at all do I mean to say that the old English merchant is without his representatives, but they are fewer than in other times, both with reference to our numbers and to our extended trade. There are many still, however, whose nations are as vast and as just as those of any of our ancestors, and amongst them, not very long ago, was a gentleman of the name of Humphrey Scriven. He was a highly educated and naturally gifted man, the son of wealthy and respectable parents in a class of society peculiar to England, the untitled country gentry, and he had been originally intended for the church. Circumstances, however, are to most men fate. He became acquainted by some mere accident with the only daughter of a rich merchant, admired, loved her, and won her love in return. He was a younger son, but nevertheless her father was a kind and liberal man, and he consented to their marriage upon one condition, that Mr. Scriven should abandon his intention of entering the church and become a merchant like himself. He fancied that he had perceived in the young man a peculiar aptitude for business, and he was not mistaken. Mr. Scriven became his son-in-law, his partner, and his successor, and well did he bear up the name and honour of the house. It was a fine thing to see him some 20 years after his marriage, when, with the business of the day over, he sat in his splendid house in St. James's Square, surrounded by his family, and often associated with the noblest and the proudest of the land. His wife was no longer living, but she had left him 4 very handsome children. She had herself been remarkably beautiful, and her husband was as fine a looking man as eye could see, tall, graceful, vigorous, and possessing that air of dignity which springs from dignity of mind. From the moment that 5 o'clock struck, Mr. Scriven cast off all thought and care of business, for, though there were, of course, with him, as with other men engaged in similar pursuits, fluctuations and changes, bad speculations, failing debtors, and wrecked ships, still his transactions were too extensive for the loss of a few £1,000s here or there to weigh upon his mind, and, being of a cheerful and happy disposition, he spread sunshine through his dwelling. His family, at the time of which I speak, consisted of 3 daughters and 1 son, who was born some 4 or 5 years after the youngest sister. The daughters were all lovely, kind, affectionate, and gentle in disposition, very much alike in person, and so nearly of an age that it was difficult to tell which was the eldest. There was indeed some difference in character, in point of force and vigour of reason, but the spirit and the heart were the same. Maria, the eldest, was a girl of much good sense, but of a very humble appreciation of her own qualities and advantages. She thought little of her beauty and less of her wealth, and her humility mere worldly-minded people looked upon as weakness. Isabella, the second, though neither haughty nor presuming, was of a far more decided and independent nature. But Margaret, the third, was all gentle kindness, with much less mere intellect than either of her sisters. She had sense enough and principle enough never to do anything that was wrong, but not enough worldly wisdom to guard her own interests against her affections. The son at this time was a boy of 15,
Sample complete. Ready to continue?